Here's an action plan to build the courage to do what is required. Again, making a leap of faith and engaging in courage, even if you don't know how it's going to play out long term. Let's face it, the most daunting part of changing our behavior is always some type of underlying irrational fear, usually fear of beginning activities or endeavors that are new, unfamiliar, intimidating, or uncertain. We all fear the unknown. That's why we don't want to get involved in new behaviors and activities. In order to move forward in shadow work, fear must be confronted and transmuted, and right action must be taken, even if it means taking a leap of faith, in spite of fear still being present in any quantity. You have to transcend that fear through an act of will. Repeatedly doing behavior that directly exposes you to things that you've been afraid of or anxious to do is actually the best way to begin to confront and diminish fear-driven aspects of our mind. To keep doing the behavior that you are anxious about or fearful of. You do it in a controlled, limited capacity, but you do it anyway. A solid action plan for building courage to do what we know is required is as follows. Number 1, write down the fears you have for beginning a given task or life change. Physically write them out on paper. Examine the underlying cause of each fear. Probe why you're afraid of it with shadow work. You have to understand the cause to understand what's holding you back from engaging in certain behavior that you know is required. Learn more about the why, about why you find a particular task disturbing or anxiety causing. It's not just because. There's a specific reason or a piece of programming that was embedded in you at some point, probably when you were young, of why you're afraid of doing certain things. Maybe a trauma was done unto you that might even not really be fully at the conscious level, and you have to work with to understand the causal factors for those fears. Contemplate the fact that these are merely stories that we have told ourselves, or even worse, stories that other people have implanted within our consciousness and our psyche, which are seldom true, or perhaps very, very, very rarely, if ever, true, and which we use as excuses to self-sabotage. We, in other words, tell ourselves we're not going to begin before even starting the endeavor because of some fear or delusion or illusion that is a bullshit story that we have told ourselves or someone else has told ourselves, and we've made it imprint upon our consciousness. Shadow work helps you to undo those factors, but you have to bring them to the conscious level of awareness first. 2, force yourself out of one of your comfort zones. Pick one of the comfort zones or things, something you feel anxious about, and force yourself out of the comfort to engage in something that does create a disturbance or does create some form of an anxiety, and force yourself to engage it. I know that can be very disturbing to some people, but you do this by doing an activity that you find fear-inducing. And you don't go all the way in. You begin small, and you expose yourself to the discomfort in a slow and controlled fashion. Eventually, you habituate yourself to it, and you reduce your fear and the anxiety-driven response. And then you could do it without that anxiety response, eventually. And then you could do it for longer periods of time. Number 3, practice transcendental meditation, breath work, and EFT, the emotional freedom technique, or what is known as meridian tapping, tapping on meridian lines of the body, energy lines, on a daily basis to center yourself mentally and emotionally. That's just another set of practices that could also be included in shadow work practices as fundamentals or addendums. Here's an action plan to move into right livelihood from wrong livelihood. Shadow work cannot truly be successful in the long term if we continue to engage in immoral livelihood, making money from activities which initiate harm upon others, defraud them, or deprive them of their natural rights. Here's an action plan to move out of an immoral job and into right livelihood. Number 1, honestly examine how you currently procure resources. List the ways that your current job constitutes or contributes to the harm of other beings. You have to be honest about, is this contributing harm? If discovering that you are contributing harm to something that is harmful by working in a certain job, set a date to quit that job no matter what within 6 months. Set a time frame and do it even if you don't have an alternative present. Take a complete leap of faith and quit that job. Now, I wouldn't tell you to do this unless the job was truly immoral. If it's just distasteful or unpleasurable or uncomfortable, I wouldn't tell you quit your job with nothing else. However, if it is immoral, quit it without a backup. Yes, I can say that to somebody, even if they have children. Mean it and look them straight in the face and tell them to do it. Even if no alternative is present and you must become poor and lose many life resources for an amount of time until you find something else. Even then, quit the job. And I'm saying that 6 months is your grace period, right? You're saying, okay, I'll stay doing this thing that I know to be wrong even 6 months from now, but after that, you have to set that date to quit. Number 2, build new work-related skills. Start doing that immediately and begin searching for job alternatives immediately. You don't just discover, oh my God, I've worked myself into a fucking corner and I'm doing something immoral, and you have no other skills that you can employ to procure right livelihood. While you're doing that job, you got to be building other skill sets and searching for other job alternatives. You don't just say, well, this is all I know how to do. You develop new skill sets and then you employ them in right livelihood. Number 3, discuss with family members and friends potential safety net measures, because you may just have to rely on them for a time. Even if this is incredibly uncomfortable for all involved, you have to say, I'm quitting my job whether I have a backup in 6 months. It doesn't matter what happens, how poor I become. I may have to dip in and, maybe eat at your house, or I may have to sleep at your home, or I may have to take out a loan from you, or maybe you need to co-sign on a loan for me. And we're going to have to sit down and talk about and discuss this eventuality, and I may just have to fucking dip into you for a while. And then you make sure you are going to do something to pay them back once you do move into right livelihood. You don't just say, oh, you're giving this to me for nothing. You say, it will be for a time, I will make restitution. But you can't just stay in that job indefinitely and say, this is all I know. That's a bullshit excuse. An action plan to stop being a fucking loser order follower. A satanic piece of trash serving nothing but other satanic pieces of trash. Order following is diametrically opposed to following one's conscience. The objective knowledge of the difference between right and wrong behavior, which is what conscience is. It's knowledge. It's not action or emotion. Conscience is knowledge of the difference between right and wrong. Hence, con, together, and science, to know. In Latin, from the verb sciere, and the prefix con means together. So conscience is common knowledge, common sense, what we should all know together. We talked how bad the factor of common sense is in our world today, unfortunately, that very few people have it, least of all fucking dumb Neanderthal order followers. And I apologize to the Neanderthals for insulting them like that by comparing them to these fucking losers. Shadow work can never be effective unless and until an order follower ceases to engage in blindly following the commands of others like a mindless automaton robot and moves into the dynamic of right livelihood instead. Many will insist that no one should tell an order follower to quit their job and possibly allow the life quality of their family to be diminished. But that is exactly what more people must do to confront the evil dynamic of order following in our society. The answer is to quit this cult. Because that's what it is. It is indeed a cult. Order followers, you are in a fucking cult. And it's an evil satanic cult. And you are an evil satanic member and contributor of the evil that cult propagates upon the world. And don't tell me that you're not, because you're a fucking lying loser. That's exactly what you are. A satanic fucking cult member, whether you know it or understand it or not, from your dumb fucking animal perspective. Because that's what they are, and that's what your fucking so-called fucking superiors and the satanic cult that you're really serving call you. They call you a fucking animal and a fucking dog with your dog tags around your neck as some fucking badge of honor. They're laughing at you, they're mocking you, they're calling you a fucking animal and a dog that will attack when they're told to attack and kill when they're told to kill. You fucking dumb dunces. The answer is to quit this cult, even if your family suffers loss of life quality, until a former order follower finds honest work. There's no good order follower. There's only a former order follower that has eventually become a good person and engaged in right livelihood. An action plan to quit the cult of order followers is as follows. Number 1, read 2 books cover to cover dealing with the dynamic of following orders. For example, books detailing the atrocities of Nazism and communism that happened within, a short historical framework, decades ago, and are still ongoing in many countries today. Contemplate the historical violence and evil that all forms of order following produces. Because you're the dumb fucking shit animal that hasn't even studied the basics of human history. You have no fucking view of history, let alone a long view of it. These fucking 8-inch thick forehead fucking beasts. You look like somebody put a fucking metal plate under your fucking forehead. Just above your fucking eyebrows. You fucking brow fucking ridge fucking shit golem. Trash bags, man. And the people that actually respect these fucking losers. They're trash bags. Number 2. Work on confronting your fears of inadequacy, but believe me, you have real inadequacies. You got inadequacies in more areas than I can fucking count. And examine how your low self-worth and your fears and inadequacies are the key factors to keep the order follower in the cult and keep them in line and keep them doing the evil that they do. They know that they're pieces of shit inside. They want to run away from that and just stay an action junkie and an adrenal junkie. It's called being a fucking piece of verminous human filth. Number 3 in the action plan. Build skill sets and seek employment in right livelihood. Stop making the excuse, this is all I know how to do because I'm a dumb fucking retard. Now, believe me, we know you're a dumb fucking retard, but you could still become reasonably skilled and then go do something else for a fucking paycheck. You dumb shit. Make a personal commitment to quit the cult of order followers within a 6-month time frame, even if you have no other options for resources and must live in a condition of financial poorness in the interim. Being financially poor for a time always trumps the destruction of your soul. And the freedom of others that you're wiping out. You're the bringers in of the dark New World Order system. Not the order follower, the order givers, and the Satanists. The order follower is the one who ushers in the dark satanic New World Order. Without you, it couldn't happen, loser. Here's an action plan to stop spreading worldview poison. Again, this is one that I had to personally follow. One of the most damaging things a person can do to prevent the growth and expansion of human consciousness is to spread poisonous falsities regarding what people erroneously believe is human nature or what is possible to achieve. It must be understood that people are capable of changing for the better with discipline and hard work. It isn't good enough just to intellectually understand this. One must create an action plan to reverse the damage that has already been done to very seriously poison the worldview of others due to previously held completely wrong perceptions regarding human beings' capacity for positive change. Stop spreading worldview poison and make an action plan to reverse it. So here's an action plan to desist in the poisoning of the worldview of others. Number 1, find and read at least 2 books on epigenetics and new biology, such as books from Bruce Lipton, Joe Dispenza, Greg Braden, etc. These are good resources on these generalized topics. And read these books to deeply understand how the quality of consciousness and behavior is created through information and environmental conditions. It is not set in stone. It is not genetic. It does not happen from birth. And if you don't understand that, you are horribly ignorant. You are tragically, fucked upedly ignorant. And you are going by dead, outmoded science that is long outdated. By over 150 years, you are following garbage, outdated pseudoscience that has been completely scientifically and experimentally disproven. And if you don't understand the sciences of epigenetics and new biology, you're going to stay a dumb fucking dunce regarding human nature and the human condition. So read books on it and educate your fucking dumb self. Number 2, quit the cults of worldview poisoning such as materialism, postmodernism, Marxism, Nazism, racism, eugenics, communism, and just about every religion on the face of the earth. These are all trash bag cults. All of them. Not just some of them, all of them. They're cults to keep your consciousness in a fucking prison. Quit these cults. None of them are true. You can group scientism in there. All these cults do is tell people that they are locked into certain modes of consciousness and behavior. That's what every one of the cults that I just fucking talked about is. You think communism isn't one of them? Marxism? All based on total dialectical materialism. That things are what just drives everything. Leave consciousness and spirituality at the fucking door. Put that on the back burner. Just worry about fucking things. Yeah, okay. That's going to get you real fucking far, you dumb dunces. All these cults do is tell people that they are locked into certain modes of consciousness and behavior. These are falsities which prevent the understanding needed for reaching one's highest potential. Number 3, once an accurate understanding of real human nature is developed, make a video or a podcast about it and post it as widely as possible online. That's how to undo bad worldview poisoning. Simple, practical ideas and action plans. Nothing overly complicated. Everything is feasible. Everything is within an individual's budget. Everything can be done if you develop just a few life skills and a little bit of persistence. All achievable and attainable through an action plan. Here's an action plan to teach true morality and natural law once you realize that that's the real solution. The ultimate expression of all shadow work self-improvement is to get involved directly in the one great work, to teach natural law and objective morality to the human species. An action plan for moving into doing the great work follows. Number 1, mentally progress toward an accurate understanding that human slavery can only be ended through the moral education of humanity. If you don't know this by now, I don't know what to fucking tell you. Human slavery can only be ended through the moral education of humanity. Is that going to be done with a fucking quill feather pen? Is that going to be done with fucking putting stamps, putting a letter in a fucking envelope and putting a stamp on it, throwing it in the fucking mailbox on the corner? If you think so, you're a fucking drooling tard. And it needs to be told to you as such. The moral education of humanity is going to occur online by content creators creating digital content and publishing it widely and freely. And if you don't think so, you're a fucking drooling tard and you're wrong. That's the solution to the current fucking moral crisis we are in. Until this awakening to what the real solution is achieved at a visceral level, an individual cannot move into the role of natural law teacher. nor can they truly really be long-term successful in their endeavor to truly self-actualize through shadow work. If you're not doing this, ultimately, you're failing at shadow work. Number 2, build communication and publishing skill sets in the modern world by taking seminars such as How to Become the True Media to learn how to make content. There's very practical, real-world plans for learning these skill sets. They're available to you. I'm not the only one who teaches them. Plenty of other teachers are out there to learn them. You don't have to take the class from me. You could take it from anybody offering such classes or seminars. Make zero excuses and sacrifice the time, resources, and energy required to do this. Stop putting forth excuses. Start putting forward effort. Number 3, create and publish online media to propagate true moral education. That's getting involved in the solution, folks. And again, we can go on and on and on and on and on with right action plans. We could develop a right action plan to take personal responsibility for our health, an action plan to spend time and resources more wisely, an action plan to increase patience with those you should be patient with, an action plan for better emotional control and emotional growth, an action plan to build skills with technology, an action plan to learn to be a better listener, an action plan to learn healthy relationship skills. Tons of beneficial, positive action plans that can be conducted in shadow work. You can go on and on and on endlessly. It's a never-ending endeavor. So let me give some notes on other shadow work methodologies, because you should just at least be aware that they exist and you might want to practice them. While I have outlined the basics now of my personal AAA shadow work methodology, by no means should this be seen as the only methodologies available for shadow work. Absolutely not. Although time for this seminar will not permit the exploration of the plethora of other various shadow work methods, I highly encourage people taking an integral approach, as I said at the beginning, when conducting shadow work, and using various methods in conjunction with each other. There's nothing wrong with doing that. Or using certain methods as adjuncts and addendums to my AAA method that I've outlined here today. Nothing wrong with combining methodologies. One of the big shadow work techniques that a lot of people talk about today that has definitely had a lot of success is the emotional freedom technique, or EFT, which is a form of shadow work therapy that involves tapping on acupressure points along energy meridian lines in the human body while focusing on a specific life issue or fear or form of anxiety. Emotional freedom technique is often used to confront and reduce trauma, or to reduce the effects of a traumatic experience, to reduce stress, and to help work through negative emotions. I personally can recommend the work of Gary Craig for very effective EFT techniques. I think he's probably one of the top guys when it comes to EFT. And there are many other practitioners and teachers. And I think there is absolutely something to this, and I think it's worthy to explore. So let's talk about practice of shadow work. Practice forms good habits and good progress. If we are going to make any real measurable progress, if we're going to hit that target through shadow work, we must understand that shadow work is not an event that we do once. This is not shadow work. This is information about shadow work. Okay? You have to do it in an ongoing capacity. It's not one event that you do one day. It's a series of ongoing practices which must be continually engaged in order to form good habits and progress toward our stated goals. No one ever becomes really good at something without practice, at any human endeavor, whether it's sports, art, cooking, mechanics, technology, or true self-improvement and betterment. What a student of shadow work should be striving for is habituation of small incremental changes. Let me say that again. What a real student of shadow work should be striving for is the habituation, making it a habit of small incremental changes over time. Over time, these will add up to larger improvements and move the practitioner ever closer to their aspired and stated goals. Don't find the time to practice shadow work. Make the time to practice it. You have to make the time for things that truly matter. Not just throw your hands up and say, I don't have the time or I can't find the time. You don't find it. You force it. Again, they're very afraid of that word. Oh my God, he said to force something to happen. Yeah, that's the exertion of your will upon something. Not for something immoral, but to make something truly positive and good happen. You have to force it to happen. You don't just sit back and wish for it to happen. You make that shit happen. One of the most common excuses for not practicing shadow work, or any other life improvement technique for that matter, is people saying they don't have the time to do it because of other things in their lives. I got a job. I got kids. I got work. You can make endless fucking excuses for why you're not doing self-improvement work. It's all bullshit excuses. You have to make the time to make it happen. The fucking end. Here is the bottom line when it comes to this dynamic. No improvement comes without sacrifice of other things. Get the fuck over it, people. No improvement in life comes without sacrificing other things. You want to be the best pitcher in baseball? You're going to sacrifice all other things. You want to be the best bowler in the professional bowling tour? You better sacrifice other things. You want to be the best teacher of natural law? You got to sacrifice other things. Nothing truly great or great improvement-wise in the self or in society comes without the sacrifice of other endeavors. And if someone is not willing to sacrifice those other things, it literally means, by definition, that they don't want the improvement that they claim to want deeply enough. They don't care enough. They don't want it enough. They don't want to sacrifice enough to actually get that thing done. So don't tell me you want fucking human freedom and you don't want to make the sacrifice to teach natural law, because you don't want anything resembling fucking freedom. You want comfort. You want pleasure. You want de facto Satanism. You don't want freedom. Freedom comes with the sacrifice of pleasure pursuits to do what you know to be morally right, and that's to teach natural law. It means if they didn't really sacrifice what they needed to do those improvements, that they chose the other things. That's definitionally what they did. They didn't sacrifice those things, they chose those other things by not making the time for the desired improvements that they claimed to want so desperately. They didn't want them that bad. Because if they did, they would have done what was required to achieve them. If improvements are ever to manifest, time spent on them must be forced. Fall in love with that fucking word. Fall in love with the word. You gotta force change to manifest. That's the only way it will ever happen. Time spent on the improvements we want to see manifest must be forced, or the only things that will manifest is even more of what people claim they don't want. If you don't force the manifestation of the things you say you want, all you will ever get in life is the things you say you don't want.